Kal Kadosh, good morning. I hope all is well. I wanted to share with you a beautiful idea in the name of the Ber Yosef. And he says as follows. In the beginning of the Parashat, it says, Vayhi bayom Shemini, kara Moshe la'Aharon ulvanav ulziknei Israel. It was the 8th day. Remember that they just inaugurated the Mishkan on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. And when they made the inauguration, Moshe Rabbeinu was the Kohen Gadol for the 7 days. And then he comes, he gives it to Aharon, and now it's Aharon and his children. So it makes sense that Moshe Rabbeinu is going to call Aharon and his children. They are the ones that are doing the services. But now a question that we ask ourselves is, why do you have to call Ziknei Israel? Why do you have to call the elders of Israel? That doesn't make sense. If right now we're going to come and we're going to give a shiur on the services of the Bet HaMikdash, right? Be'ezrat Hashem, speedily will be built in our days. What are we going to do? We're going to get all the Kohanim and we're going to give them a shiur on the Seder Avodah, right? On the services of the Bet HaMikdash. We'll call the Leviim and we'll give them music classes. Yeah? The Makams and the this and that. Okay, very good. But why do I need Ziknei Israel now? What's going on exactly? So the Midrash says, Amar Rabbi Akiva, this is Vayikra Rabbah, Nimshalu Yisrael la'of. Bnei Yisrael, we are compared to a birds. Ma ha'of hazeh eno poreach belo knafayim. Just like birds cannot fly without their wings, kach Yisrael en yicholim la'asot davar beli ziknehem. Bnei Yisrael cannot do anything without their wings. We need wings to fly like an eagle. We need wings to take off. Those wings are Ziknei Israel. Now, how is that connected exactly with the Mishkan and what's going on over here? So the Ber Yosef says something beautiful. And he says like this. We know that the Mishkan and the Korbanot were an atonement for a certain sin. What was that sin? The Chet HaEgel, the golden calf. After we did the golden calf, Moshe Rabbeinu broke the Luchot. Then he went back up on Rosh Chodesh Elul, and then he asked for forgiveness. And after asking for forgiveness, what happened? All of a sudden, what happens is that after doing all these things, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, Salachti kidvarecha on Yom Kippur. I forgive the Jewish nation. But now when he forgives the Jewish nation on Kippur, he tells Moshe Rabbeinu build a Mishkan. But the Mishkan is the house which is going to be between us and Hashem. We are going to connect, to bond through a place. Now, Kam Chachamim, and they say beautifully, so one second, just like Rashi and the Ramban say on Pasuk Bet, that we know that the Chet HaEgel, what was the cause of the sin? He says, you know what the root of the cause of the sin of the Chet HaEgel was? It says, is because they had to ask advice from their elders and they didn't do it. It says, Vine Aharon v'chur imachem, mibal devarim yigash alehem. He comes and he says, if anybody has a problem, who do you go to? Go to Aharon and Chur and ask them for advice for whatever you need. I'm going up for 40 days. When I go on vacation, it's not really vacation, but when I'm going away, I have somebody for you to ask. Don't worry about it, right? You're not going to be left on your own in the darkness. Ask, don't worry. So now what happens is that, what do? They went and they killed Chur. And the Midrash says even more. The Midrash Bamidbar Rabbah Tedvav Kaf Aleph says that they killed the 70 elders, which they rebuked them. Meaning, they killed Chur. They killed the 70 elders, and the only one left was who? Aharon. And they told Aharon, you have to do what we want. And Aharon had no choice. Yeah, he saw what they did to Chur. He saw what they did to the elders. He had no choice. So that's why, say Chachamim, what was the atonement of the Chet HaEgel? The Mishkan. And that's why when we're inaugurating the Mishkan, we have to mention the importance of the elders, the importance of the Talmidei Chachamim, the importance of the rabbis. And now we actually understand another concept also. in the middle of the parasha, there's a very tragic deaths. Tragic deaths of the children of Aharon. And it says over there, what exactly? The two children of Aharon, Nadav, Avihu, they come, they bring a fire, and all of a sudden, they died. A fire comes and consumes them. Says the Midrash, the Sifra, Shelo natlu etza mi Moshe. You know why they were punished? They brought a sacrifice. You're right, it says Esh Zara, a weird sacrifice, a strange sacrifice. But they brought a sacrifice. If you're going to come, you're going to do a mitzvah, you're going to bring a sacrifice. Fine, it was the wrong one. We're going to burn you to death. What did you do wrong? Explains now the Ben Yosef beautifully, and he says, now we understand. The entire purpose of the Mishkan was what? To atone that they didn't ask. They didn't ask for advice. They went right away and they did whatever they wanted. And then they forced Aharon HaKohen, their rabbi, to do what they want. So therefore, what happens? They were punished. Chet HaEgel. What's the atonement? The Mishkan. When we are going to make this tabernacle, the Mishkan, this is the atonement. Nadav Avihu, when they're going to come and they're going to do the exact same mistake, we cannot handle that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu immediately kills them on the spot. And that's what it says. Al yedei shenenshu be'avon zeh, nitchazka bekefel kiflayim hayediah belev Yisrael. The fact that they were punished so harshly, it reiterated, it instilled in the Jewish hearts, she'af adam, that no one, no human being, gadol kechol sheyeh, doesn't matter how great they are, eno yachol la'asot le'atzmo knafayim, cannot make for himself his own wings. Unless the ziknei imo, the ziknei amo, the ones, the elders of the generations, they're going to agree with him. Which means that this is the biggest part of the mistakes. And do you know that they actually ask, how do we know that they killed the elders? And there's actually a beautiful Torah Tmimah that it says in a pasuk in Yirmiyahu, Gam bichnafecha nimtzeu dam nefashot elyonim nekiyim. It says also amongst your wings you're going to find the blood of clean blood. So there, right, they already says in the Midrash, it's like a remez. What's the remez? It says ele, right? It says nikiyim al kol ele. What is ele? By the Chet HaEgel, they said ele Elohecha Yisrael. This is your God of Israel. So they use the same terminology. So that was the hint. But says the Torah Tmimah, no. It used the word knafecha, your wings. Because remember, the wings of Am Yisrael, the wings are the rabbis. The rabbis are our wings. They are the ones that are going to get us to great heights. But it's only if we actually listen to them. And that's why it's so important that it says, there's a pasuk that they actually explain. It says, Akishalon yotom, ach latzlacha avot rabim. Sometimes you're going to find kishalon, which is failure, by an orphan. And when you're going to have atzlacha, success, there's avot rabim, there's many fathers. What does that explain? What is explanation of that pasuk? So explains the rabbi himself, he says the same thing. He says, when do you find failure? When we act like orphans. When we act that we don't have parents to ask them for advice. When do you find success? By avot rabim. When you see that a person has a lot of fathers, meaning that he went and he asked the rabbi, and he asked his rabbanim, and he asked, that's when you know that they're going to have success. Because of what they have beforehand. That those broad shoulders that they have. And that's why they always bring down the name of Gershon, of Yaakov Edelstein and others. They said that it once actually happened that they asked the Rav of Panovich. They asked him, Rav Yosef Shlomo Kahneman, they wanted him to become, right, the rabbi of a certain city. One of the cities in Israel. And what happened was, they didn't have a rabbi, so they asked him. So he went and he told them, why do you want me? So they said, no, we heard you're a lion, and we want a lion, we don't want a cat. That's what they told the rabbi. So listen to what the rabbi told them. The rabbi already knew that this community was the type of communities that they write the laws, and then the rabbi has to sign, not the other way around. Yeah, so what happens? They write the laws, and whether the rabbi likes it or not, it's either you sign or, that's it. He didn't like that. So what did he tell them? He went and he told them like this. He said, what's the difference between a lion and a cat? He says, you know what the difference is? A cat does not attack so much the prey. It waits until you're going to throw it a bone. The lion, when it's hungry, it's going to go for the kill. Yeah, and it eats its prey alive. Don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about him. But what happens if you put them both in a cage? What's the difference now? He says if you put both the lion, right, in a cage, and then you're going to put a cat in the cage, they're both going to be waiting for the bones to be thrown at them. So he said, if at the end of the day, what you're going to do is you're going to take the rabbi and you're going to put him in a cage, right? Because basically you're going to control what he's doing or not doing or what he has to say or not what to say. So then he might as well get a cat because it's both the same. There's no difference between a lion and a cat. That's what he went and he told them. But the secret behind what we're trying to teach us is that everything that we have to do in life, we have to do with the rabbi. We cannot move without the rabbi. And Lavdil Elef Abdalot, to understand, but I want to obviously separate it, but just to bring it down to the most simplest of terms, everyone knows it's very important that everyone should have their own doctor. Yeah, everyone has their own. Who's your, right, Medicare doctor? Who's your doctor, your primary doctor? Why do you need a primary doctor? I want to go to 20 different doctors. Yeah, and every time I'll just go to a different one. Why do I need to go to the same one? Why is it so important that I have the same one? So Chachamim come and they wanted to explain its exact same yesod. If you go to a doctor, it could be that since he doesn't know you, he doesn't know your personality, your history, the people that surround you. So then what happens is that he's got a code of Jewish law. He's got a Shulchan Aruch, and he has to try to see, listen, you know what? Okay, if it's black and white, it's black and white for everybody. But sometimes it's not black and white. You understand? Sometimes what happens is that it's not black and white. It's going to be, for example, in a gray area. So now, certain times, if the doctor knows you very well, he knows already how do you react to certain medicines, how do you react? Maybe we should go natural, maybe it should be for different reasons. So what happens is that if he knows you well enough, you understand? If not, I just say, I'm going to go with the general flow. Now, it could be that it doesn't work for you. Why doesn't it work for you? Because not always does it work for every single human being. Every single human being is different. And therefore, it's important to realize that, right? So Sei Chachamim, the exact same yesod, is not only to do with a doctor where he knows the ins and outs of every single human being, meaning that he's supposed to know you. Because if not, the doctor doesn't know. He's going to start asking you questions, but he doesn't realize the differences in all the problems. But rather, Kam Chachamim, they say, now what you're supposed to do, though, is realize the same thing happens with a rabbi. Why? Because sometimes I come and I say, where did you get that sack? No, I asked this rabbi. Okay, very nice. And who told you that? No, I asked the other rabbi. Okay, and who told you the other thing? No, I asked the third rabbi. And who has the fourth rabbi? So I say, wow, you like listening to rabbi? Yeah, I always ask a rabbi. Well, yeah, but you know who the rabbi is? You. Why? Because you want to ask the rabbi that's going to give you the answer that you want to hear. So therefore, I already know that for question A, I'm going to ask Rabbi A. For question B, I'm going to ask Rabbi B. And for question C, I'm going to ask Rabbi C. But that's not asking a rabbi, right? The rabbi has to know who you are. And that's so important. It once happened that I was in Gibraltar, and somebody asked the chief rabbi of Gibraltar, the Chassid Shlita, he asked him a question. And the Chassid gave him the halacha that he doesn't have to go back. And I was shocked because the person first asked me, and I said, oh, well, obviously, you asked the rabbi, right, the chief rabbi, right? And then, but it didn't make sense, the halacha, right? I think it was to do with Yom Tov, I think it was, or it was Rosh Chodesh, and he didn't, it was a mincha, it was something that he had to go back. And now he's asking, and the rabbi's saying, no, I didn't understand. I went and I asked the rabbi afterwards. I said, Rabbi, by the way, I wanted to understand because, it's halacha. Why is it no? So he went and he told me, do you know that this person asks me every single Yom Tov the same question? Every single Yom Tov, he asks me the same question. I've got a doubt. Did I say that the Ya'alev Yavo? Did I not say the Ya'alev Yavo? He says, I know his nature already. He for sure said it. But every single time he's such a nervous person. He's got those nerves. He's always going to ask the same question. So for him, if he's going to ask me the question is no. You don't have to go back. If it's somebody else, obviously the answer is yes. But it depends on the human being. It depends on the person. And that's why it's so important to understand that we always have our wings. The wings that we have are our rabbis, and we always have to ask them the questions. We always have to ask for advice. And by doing so, that's when we actually have the atonement of the Chet HaEgel. That's when we're going to have it. And that's why it's so important. You know, one of the things that they said about the virus is who does it affect the most? The elderly. How many of the biggest Rabbanim went away? How many of the wings of the generation were taken away? And somebody I once heard said that was part of the Avirah of this generation, because they don't appreciate the elders. They don't appreciate the big rabbis. Now every single youngster, I'm a big rabbi. We don't need to ask advice anymore. We're all rabbis. Kulanu chachamim, kulanu nevonim, kulanu yodim et kol haTorah kula. We know everything. So therefore, what happens? That's the problems, the dangers of the generation. So therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes and he tells us, appreciate them, because I'm going to take them away. And now you're going to see what you're actually really missing out on and how much we're losing. So therefore, it's so important for us to realize that Moshe Rabbeinu was trying to teach us in this week's Parashat, the first thing, I'm going to call everybody, the Kohanim, the services, but I need the elders of the generation. I need all of them here. I want to show everybody. You're going to do something. Don't move without the rabbis. You need them all here. These are the elders that you're going to ask them all the questions. And that's why it's so important for us to utilize this, to internalize this message. Bezrat Hashem, Shabbat Shalom.